Hi, I'm Margaret Lewin and welcome to Margaret Lewin Quilting. Today we are going to be working on the first of 4 blocks of our 2017 third quarter quilt. And this one right here is called either AJ's Tree or AJ's Christmas. I've referred to it as both. I guess it's just AJ's at this point. This quilt is made out of Kaffe Facets fabrics. I absolutely love them. I love the color in them, and I just think it's going to make the neatest quilt. In fact, I think the quilt's pretty neat because I've seen it all done. What we're going to be working on today is these strips, getting these together. We'll first put together our triangles, then we're going to add our backing fabric to it. So if you'd like to see exactly how I did it, stay tuned and I'll show you how. The first things that we're going to cut is the triangles for our tree. All right. I'm going to try really hard to make sure that you guys can see exactly what I'm doing on this. I have stacked all 4, I'm going to move it hopefully without disrupting it, all 4 of my Christmas tree patterns. Okay, so these are the 4 fabrics that I'm going to use on my Christmas tree. I have lined them all up. I think they're pretty straight. I've lined them all up. The first thing that I need to do is cut a 5-inch strip, okay? You're actually going to cut 2 5-inch strips, but I've already done 1. So here's my fabric. And I've got my long ruler. Now this ruler extends from the back of my mat all the way past the top of my mat so that I can really line things up well. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's my 5 inches, and I can see it here, and I can see it down here. I want to make sure I've got my full 5 inches because this is important because this is the size of our Christmas tree strips. So I've got 5 inches right there. I'm going to take my rotary cutter and I'm just going to make 1 cut. Now this is all scraps for me now. Remember, you're going to make 2 cuts. I only did 1. You're going to do 2. Then I'm going to very carefully move this off without removing my strips, all right? And I purposely want them lined up just like this. I'm going to take my ruler. Now this is my Creative Grids ruler, and I want to make sure you can see it. See this 5-inch mark right here? That we are going to be lining up on the edge of our fabric. So I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to get as close as I can down here. Right there is the selvage. I'm going to get right up next to that, and you can see what happens over here is the point of my ruler just lines up with the very edge. I'm going to do 1 cut. Now I'm going to do a 2nd cut. All right. I'm going to remove this. This really is junk. All right. And then I'm going to take this, I'm going to set my ruler down again. And then I'm just going to very carefully pull that away just a little bit so that I can make sure that I've got it. All right, I'm lined up again. So now I'm going to cut this way. Whoops, sorry, I moved the camera a little bit. All right, I'm going to keep doing this until I have cut my entire piece of fabric, lining up here and here. Okay. It's very simple to do. but it's a really important step because we need these straight so that they properly fit when we go to put our background fabric with it. Okay. So here I am again. Scooch over just a little bit. I'm trying to stay out of the camera view, but I think you can tell the camera is right over my head. At this point, if I go to cut this, I'm gonna be right underneath the camera. So I'm gonna finish cutting this and then I'll come back to you once it's all cut. This is my very last cut, and I think you can see, but I'm right off the edge there. So I'm not gonna have a cut there. So I'm gonna put this aside with my other piece. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to leave these stacked, and I'm gonna get my background material. Well, actually, first thing I'm gonna do is separate these. I need each number in their own pile. So I'm just gonna separate this into 4 different piles. You're gonna have 12 of each one of these from your 2 strips. Now you're gonna have extra, but I really would rather you have some extras just in case you have issues, okay? So I'm gonna put these all together and then I'm gonna grab my background fabric. This is my background fabric. I have pressed it and I'm now going to put it on my mat and just kind of try my best to get it squared up so that I'm as square as I can get it, all right? Because these are gonna be long, straight strips that we're gonna be doing this time. So I'm gonna take my long ruler and I'm gonna pick 2 spots on the cutting table, on the mat, and I'm just gonna square this end up over here. All right. Once I've squared that end up, I can get rid of that. And I'm gonna now change to my 12.5-inch square ruler. And I'm going to still be cutting in 5-inch strips, but I'm gonna do it 2 at a time now. And when I cut anything, I always check in at least 2, if not 3 spots to make sure that I'm still straight. So here's my first cut at 10 inches. And here comes my second cut at 5 inches. All right. So there's 1 strip, there's 2 strips. I'm gonna cut 2 more just to be safe and be ready to do the next part. Or let's just say I'm gonna cut 2 more. So there's 1. And again, I'm checking here, here, and here to make certain that I'm straight. And then there's another cut. So now what I've got is I have got 4 strips that are 40 inches long by 5 inches wide. I'm gonna leave that sit there because I am gonna need that eventually, but not quite yet. I'm gonna work on row 1 first. One of the things that is different about this quilt is we have right angled and left angled slants. And the reason why we have that is because we have right angled and left angled slants. Now to me, this is a right angle, this is a left angle. That's just me. It may not be what they're really called, but that's how I refer to them. So my very first row, I have a right angled cut because I need this tree top to butt right up next to this background strip. So the first thing that I know about it is I need this right angle correct. So I'm gonna line this up here. All right, then I'm gonna grab my ruler again. Now here's my ruler. I need this side to match up to this side. So what that's telling me is I need my cut to be here. Got that? Because see, I want this piece to line right up against here. So I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm at my 5-inch mark. I've got selvage right here. I do not want that in my quilt. So I'm going to take the top of my ruler, and I'm going to line it up just outside of that selvage, all right? So that I do not end up with any of that in my quilt. Then I'm going to take my rotary cutter, scooch around to the other side so I can cut it, and I'm going to make my very first cut. All right? Now, when I sew these two together, this is going to line up perfectly. All right? So there's my first one. I need this piece right here to be 20 inches long. I need it to be 20 inches from here, that little tip, that way. So I'm going to slide this aside a little bit. Now I'm going to grab a long ruler that is at least 5 inches wide. And I said I needed it to be 20 inches. So I'm going to line this up, and right here is my 20-inch mark, and I'm lining it right up here. And I know I need my very first piece cut right there because I've got 1 to 20. So I'm going to make my first cut. So I know this sews first, then I'm going to add this. The next thing I have to do is I have to have another cut. This time my cut is 17 inches. So I'm going to take it, I'm just going to turn this piece around, only because it's easy. I'm going to grab my ruler again, laying this out pretty straight if I can. Yep. Now I'm going to take this. I need a left angled cut now, don't I? Because I need this to add on to here. So I'm going to take my ruler, I'm going to set it down, and now because I'm here, I can actually use that straight line on the fabric to give me another guideline because I'm not dealing with selvage this time. I'm going to set this back here again just to make sure I've got it at the right angle, and I do. So now that I know that I have it at the right angle, I'm going to take my rotary cutter, and I'm just going to cut this edge off. So that gets tossed away. My next step is I know I need that to be 17 inches long. And again, I'm from the point back. So I'm going to take my fabric and my ruler. I'm going to line up that point right there, and I'm at 17 inches. And I'm just going to cut right here. This piece I'm going to set aside just in case I need it again later. And here is my very first row. That's row 1. I'm going to go sew this together. Well, let's go ahead and cut row 2. So this is my row 1. And I'm going to stack it just like this. And I'm just going to stick a straight pin in it, okay? I know this is my row 1 because it's only got 1 green. I'll set that up there. The next ones I'm going to do is I'm going to do row 2. So I need triangles 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to pin those together. That's my row 2. Row 3, I need 4, 1, 2, 3, and 1. This is row 3. I'll pin these together. Okay, so we have row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, we need 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 4, and 3. And this will all be in the written instructions so that you know exactly what piece to grab. All right, so you don't have to worry about that. All right, row 5. Row 5, you need pieces. See, this is why I lined them up like this, because it makes it really easy for me to just grab them and put them in a proper row. So row 5, I need 3, I need 4, I need 1 and 2, and then 1 again, and then 3, then 4, then 1, and then 2. And that's the order those get sewn together in. So I'm going to put a pin in those. Got one more to do. So my last row is I need 4, and then 1, and 3, and 2, and 1, and 3. Whoops, that's in the wrong one. So that was 3, and 2, and 3, and 2, and 4, and 3. That's my very last row. I'm going to pin those together. All right. So now here's all of my rows. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. These are extras for me in case I need them. So I'm going to set those over here to the side. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to sew our first row, and then we're going to work on our second row. So I have all of these stacked. I know exactly which ones come when. All right, I'm going to move these down just a little bit. Okay, so the first thing is, let's go sew row 1. So how I'm going to put this together is just how it's laid out here. I'm going to take this, and I need it to line up with, I'll move that up, sorry. I'm going to put it together just like this. I'm going to first take my tree, I'm going to put it onto the background fabric, and I am going to line up from end to end. I'm going to pin it so that it doesn't move, because remember, we're dealing with bias here. So we don't want anything moving around on us. We want it to stay nice and planted where we put it. So I'm gonna scooch that up just a little bit. Right. That's why I like these pins, because they're so fine. I can very easily move things around. All right. So this is my first seam. I'm gonna sew this one first. So I'll do a 1/4 inch seam all the way down there. Then I'm gonna press it to the inside, okay? Then I'll take this piece and add it on. So I'll be back once I've sewn this side so you can see what it looks like. I wanna show you how you go about lining up the piece now that I've got it sewn. As you can see here, I've got a little bit extra at the very tip top. You can see right here, there's a little bit extra there. Well, what I did was I thought, okay, I have to come in a 1/4 inch, and I want my top right here to line up with the top of my fabric. And see, it does, because what you're doing is you're taking your fabric. I'll show you on this one. Here's my ruler. There's a 1/4 inch. This is my sewing line. Let's see if I can find, I can do it with this one. I'm going to take my pen and just make a mark. Right here is where I need to line it up at the top, so that when I go to fold this over, what's going to happen is this point right here will line up right there. So I'm going to take my second piece and I'm going to lay it down. And on this one, you can see this is where I'm going to start sewing. See, right there is where I'm going to start sewing. So I want this seam to match. So let's see if I can get it up here. See right there, it's going to match. I hope you can see that because it's in 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to take my pin, I'm going to line that up, line it up nice, put my pin in, and then I can go ahead and lay it back down and line the rest of it up. I may have to take this one, yeah, I'm going to have to take it out. I know that's where I want my point to be, but I gotta get it to lay flatter than that. I can't have it with bumps in it. I'm gonna take my piece and I'm lining it up. There's my 1/4. And when I sit down to the sewing machine and I start sewing, I'll see that my 1/4 needs to be right there. So I'm gonna pin that there. And then I'm going to put another pin down here so that I get to hold it. Okay. Now I'm going to take it over to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew. This time I'm going to sew this way. And I'm going to sew a 1/4 of an inch seam. And then I'll bring it back and show you. Here is my very first row. Now this hasn't been pressed yet, but there it is. I've got a nice point up there at the top, which makes me very happy. So there's row 1. Now we need to sew together row 2s, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I think what I'm going to do is let's start by sewing our trees together, and then we'll work on sewing our rows. So this is my next row, and we have 1, 2, 3 pieces on this one. So I'm going to sew this one to here, just flipping it over, lining it up. I'm going to sew a 1/4 of an inch down here. Then I'm going to open this up and I'm going to bring this one, flip it over, and I'm going to sew a 1/4 of an inch there. And I probably will show you with my other camera so that you can see exactly how I do that. I'm going to do that with all 6 rows. Once I get all 6 tree rows together, then we'll start adding our background fabric to it. But I wanted you to see that first, all right? Because these are important. So I will be back once I have all of my, or I'll bring the camera over and show you how I go about putting my trees together. How about that? I need to sew these 2 pieces together, and you can see they're at an angle. So when I go to fold one over and match it, it's not going to perfectly match. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take our 5.5 inch Creative Grids ruler, which has this fantastic little 1/4 inch mark on the side of it. We're going to line the 1/4 of an inch up. I'm going to take my friction pen, there's the name of it for you, and I'm going to just draw a 1/4 inch line all the way down. So there's one. I'm going to rotate it and I'm going to do the second one. Here's my second line. Now I'm going to take this piece, because this is the other piece that I'm going to be working on, and I'm going to do the exact same thing to it. So here we go. And I'm going to do it on this side. So actually it'll be there when I go to do my next piece. And this one I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm also going to go across the bottom of it. This is a lot more work, but it'll get you used to seeing where these need to be put together. Got something stuck on there, didn't we? All right, you can see on my first piece I have 2 lines drawn. On my second piece I have all 3. My pieces are going to be put together like this. So I'm going to grab 2 straight pins. I'm going to flip one on top of the other, And then I'm going to go, okay, Margaret, X marks the spot. Right here's my first X, and X does mark the spot. Right here, whoops, I forgot to do the bottom of that one. Whoop. Here we go. I got too excited. So X marks the spot. So I'm going to start over again. There we go. I'm going to flip this one over. I'm going to grab my X right here. It's hard to see because it's a faint line. But right here is my X. I'm going to put those two together. I'm going to lay it down so that it's flat, one against the other. I'm going to leave my pin all the way down in the bottom. Then I'm going to take the other end, and again, X marks the spot. Right there's my X. Here's another X. And now there's those two pieces. Now I can actually take this and lay this completely flat on my table. And I can put a couple more pins in so that I'm good and pinned. I'm working with the bias here. And remember, we always want to be careful when we work with the bias, because bias stretches all by itself. So there's my two pins. I can take out my other pins. And now I know I sew exactly on that line all the way down. Once I've done that, I'll open up my pieces and they will be perfectly matched. I'm going to show you how to line up your rows. One of the things that would help you is a 1/4 of an inch ruler that you can clearly see your 1/4 of an inch. And I have a friction marker to help me also. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just line this up. You can see I'm a little off right here, but I'm going to get it lined up as best I can based on what I've got to work with. And I'm going to just draw a little line right here, and I'm actually in the selvage. I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to also do it down here. All right. So there's one piece that I've done it on. Now I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to do that again. All right. So here's my piece. I can clip this little bunny ear or whatever you want to call it. There goes my little piece there. I got an extra. And I'm going to again take my ruler and I'm just going to line it up. So I'm lining it up wherever there are seams so that I can easily make it out when I go to pin these together. I am going to do that one, and I'm going to do it on the inside, and I am going to do this one, and I'm going to also do that one a little bit on the inside. Okay, so now that I've got all of those points, what this is going to do is just really help me line these up together. So I'm kind of button my seams together a little bit. And what I'm looking for is, see those 2 points? I'm going to move this pin out of my way. All right, so what I'm looking for is, see that point and this point? Let me grab this so you can, right here and right here. I'm looking for those to line up. That's what I want more than anything, is just those pieces to line up. And I can always take my fingers and pinch them and make adjustments where I need to. So I'm pinching. I'm pretty good on that side. Let's see this side. I'm going to pinch just the 2 sides. Not quite on that side, I can see. I need to bring it up a little bit. Okay, now I'm good. I can see that one's not a bad seam. So there I go with that. So now let's go down to this one and see where we end up there. The first thing I'm going to do is just put my pieces together, and I estimate about 1/4. And it looks like I'm off just a little bit. All right, pinch it again and pull it back. Well, that looks a little bit better. pinch it. Let's line this piece up a little bit better. Okay. Pinch it and pull it back. In there, I've got it. I'm right on with that one. So I'm going to pin that together. Now I'm just going to pin these two together as I go out from this Christmas tree, or the tree, or whatever we're calling it. AJ's tree, I think, is what we decided on, huh? I'm going to pin a little bit more, and then a little bit more. One more pin. You can see I don't match up yet. I will be trimming these and then giving you guys exact measurements in the instructions on how to put it together. So here we go. All right, last pin on that side. So now I've worked up to here. So now I need to work the rest of the way. Thank you so much for sticking around all the way to the end to see AJ's tree and how I went about putting it together. It really was a lot of fun to do. It was something different for me. I haven't done a lot of these types of triangles. I'm really glad I used Busy Fabric for it. And I hope you enjoyed doing it, and I hope you learned a lot. So next week we will be working on blocks 2 and 3. The blocks are pretty simple, so I think we can get through 2 blocks in 1 week. Then the following week we'll be finishing block 4 and putting the quilt top together. So I can't wait to show you the whole thing done, because it really is cool. I'm very pleased with the way it came out. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. And if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. That helps me to know that it's something that you're enjoying. Also, don't forget our Facebook page. We're sharing pictures of what it is that we're doing and our progress on our quilts. So make sure you come on out there. The Facebook page is Margaret Lewin Quilting, and I'd love to see you be a part of our group. Thanks, and have a great day. Bye.